Hi everyone, I'm Karrie Evenson from Karrie on Canvas, and this is the online workshop for some of you that are new into painting and are interested in learning, and maybe you have never experienced painting quite like I paint before, which is more of a loose and free kind of abstract style, very bright, colorful, and large brushes. So I'm going to go ahead and just talk to you a little bit about what you can expect and what you will need. And of course, before you've already purchased this workshop, you should have the supply list as well. So the first thing is you'll need anywhere between 11 by 14 to 16 by 20 canvas for this. This first part of the workshop, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we tone our canvas, and then adding the sketch, and then what we're going to be painting. So just to go ahead and get started so that we're not wasting any time, you're going to have your canvas here that is already white, and we're going to go ahead and sketch a image on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to just do very simple piece, two small little birds. I have here a sketch that I did on my sketch pad, and you can see I just lightly sketched. You can see this drawing is not detailed. This is not something that you need to spend a lot of time on. This literally, I did this in under a minute. It's a very quick sketch, because really we're not painting a picture, a realistic photogenic picture. We're not painting realistic birds. We're painting more from our emotions and kind of on instinct, and more of an abstract feel. That's why it's the way I approach is supposed to be almost carefree and relaxed. So what I did is I just sketched out these two birds, and I just kept it very simple shapes in here. I don't know if they're sitting on a bench, maybe they're sitting on a window ledge. You can leave that up to your own decision. And then I just kind of sketched a little simple flower, some stars, just very easy. So basically what we're going to do is I'm going to move the sketch over, and I'm going to go ahead and start sketching in the birds on my piece. Right now I'm using a pencil, but you can also use charcoal, which are vine charcoal sticks you can get at any of your local art supply stores. And you can use those as well, but with charcoal you will need to use a acrylic spray called workable fixative. And it's actually, a lot of sketch artists use it. It's so that the sketching doesn't smear. You will need to spray that over your charcoal before you paint on it to make sure that your charcoal doesn't smudge all over. And I'll show you that later on in the workshop, and I'll show you the supplies and things like that. So, but for now we're just going to use pencil just so we can have a visual of what we're going to be doing. And this isn't something that you're always going to have to do when you're painting with me throughout the workshops. But this is definitely something for those of you that are really trying to get involved in learning how to paint, and for beginners especially. So I'm going to start off at the bottom here, and I'm going to go ahead and create it kind of dark so that you can see, but of course you don't have to go this dark. Very loose sketch, okay, and I might come over a little further actually. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and add my bird up here. Of course, you know, the great thing about painting is whenever you actually get to a part that you're, a part where you're painting and you start to see, this is nothing like my sketch. Well, that's normal, that's going to happen. It'll still have the same subject matters and style, but you know, it's sometimes the head will be bigger than what the sketch originally was. So feel free, if you're doing this, you can pause this and go ahead and get your sketch in so that you don't have to work as fast as me. Eventually you will be able to, but this is just something that I've been doing for a while, and I'm comfortable working at a faster pace. But feel free to pause and come back when you're done. So I just went ahead and sketched in two stars. I'm going to add in a line here. I don't know if it's going to be a curtain yet, just kind of visual. It's going to come down, got some, I don't know, something going on over here. Add my flower. Maybe there's a flower in a vase and it's a kitchen ledge. Might add another flower. I might take that out and decide I don't want to do it. Okay. So there you go for your first part of your art piece. You have your two birds. You have just simple shapes in here. This is not detailed. We're not putting on the eyes. We're not putting in the feathers. We're not painting little detailed lines. We're not sketching any of that. Very simple, almost cartoonish type of sketch. And then we'll come back in with painting. So go ahead and finish your sketch and then come back and we will get started on toning the canvas. So to tone the canvas, what we're going to be doing is you're going to use your yellow, and you should have cadmium yellow deep. If not, any yellow orange azo or just a primary yellow will do. You're going to take your large wash brush. I strongly encourage, if you do not have a large wash brush, to go ahead and get one. They're about 1 inch wide and they're nice and flat. This one is so super old, but I'm kind of partial to my old brushes because I've been using them for so long and I just absolutely love them. They're like my good luck charms. And what I'm going to do is I have this wet brush. Now, when you tone your canvas, here's the thing. You want to tone with a very watered down color because the idea is just to wipe the white out of your canvas, not to completely cover everything in a thick, opaque yellow. So here we have this yellow here. Now the reason we're doing yellow is because it's one of the colors we're going to be using in our painting. And because it's one of the primary colors in our painting, that's why it's going to be in the background. Now, one thing that some of you don't know is when you're doing a wash on your canvas, it is part of the colors that are going to be in your paintings. For instance, if you have complementary colors that you're using, which would be the complement of gold would be violet, then you would use the color that is warmest for your wash. If you ever have any questions or doubts, you can always email me on that and I'd be more than happy to help you out. And we'll go over that later on as we get more involved with colors. Now the other reason we do a wash over our painting is because it's a lot easier to cover a already colored canvas than is the white. So if you're using darker colors in your canvas and you don't have a wash in the background, that white's gonna pop out because of the contrast and it's gonna pop out and make it look a lot more harsher. So it's a lot easier just to go ahead and put a wash over your canvas and be done with it. That way, if you do miss little areas of your canvas, you'll always have that gold peeking through, which is already part of the colors that you will be using on your painting. So you can see this is a very, very light coat. It's almost see-through. Just like that. Okay, so now that that's done, what we're gonna do is we're gonna let it dry. We can easily paint over it wet, but we really wanna let it dry. Mine's gonna dry pretty fast because it's such a thin layer. If yours is really wet, if you found that you've used a lot of water and it's just sitting there, you can easily take a rag. I would suggest a paper towel, and you can blot out the wet spots. You'll still see that that yellow is laying over the white. Okay? So now that we have this yellow, again, I'm gonna go back to the colors that we were talking about. I have this little cheat sheet here, which is just like your big color wheel that you can buy at your store. But I like this because I could carry it with me traveling. So this is actually just a little pocket guide for a color wheel, but it lays it all out for you and lists from primary colors, secondary colors, intermediate colors, so on and so forth. Now, a lot of the times you'll hear me saying complementary colors or split complementary colors. So what you will do is on your color wheel, you will find the complementary colors that either I'm picking or I'm asking you to choose, or the split complementary colors. In this case, we're going to be using the split complementary colors of red violet, yellow, and blue violet. So I'm going to go ahead and lay this out here as a reminder for us. Red violet, yellow, and blue violet. Now to get those colors, red violet. If you don't already have a tube of paint that says red violet, you'll take your violet color and your quinacridone magenta, and you will mix that to get a nice red violet. And just look at your color wheel to get the colors to match. Same with blue violet. You'll take your violet color and just a little bit of phthalo blue, and I mean a little, because phthalo blue is a potent paint. One of my favorite colors, but a very little bit goes a long way. So we're gonna go ahead and get started, and we're gonna take our large round brush, okay? We're gonna get it wet, and we're gonna go ahead and start with just filling in. Now I want you to remember something. As we're doing this, that's my old dog there coughing, sorry. She's like 17 years old. So anyway, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna take our blue violet color first to start off with. So by doing that, we're gonna mix our phthalo blue and our magenta to get a nice blue violet color. Now I'm not going to add white to this or anything like that, but we're just going to go ahead and go in and start filling in our birds. This is what I call the base color. It's kind of like the beginning colors that you say, okay, this is what I know where this is going, and then we're going to add layers over it later. And that's how I look at it. So the base color is never the final color, okay? We always add layers over our painting. So we're gonna go ahead and just add in this blue violet on our bird. I have so many dogs outside barking. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but I live out on the lake and it echoes in the valley in the back, and we have neighbors that have dogs that they bark at everything. I think he might be barking at leaves, I'm not sure. Hopefully when I'm done, I'll be able to edit that out. We'll see. Okay, so we have the birds done. We have this blue violet. Okay, and now we're gonna come back down and we're gonna start adding in some red violet, maybe down at the bottom. Now these won't be the only colors we use, but these are our primary colors. So they're the first colors you're going to use in this painting. And when you're first learning, it's a good rule to follow to use as much of the split complementary colors or your complementary colors in the very beginning of your painting, and then you can add colors later. But this way, it really pops and shows through. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of throw these colors in here at the bottom. I'm mixing my little bit of violet with my magenta. And now I'm gonna go ahead and go, because I feel like this brush isn't really covering as much as I want, I'm gonna go ahead back to my big wash brush. If you feel comfortable using the round, feel free to do that. I'm gonna take some more magenta and take some of my blue and add more of a darker red violet, and then just come in and fill this in. Notice how I'm painting pretty fast. I'll slow down and show you exactly how the strokes are. So I have this big wash brush. I go over, just cross, just like that. The reason I do that is to keep my strokes loose and free. It's very easy for us to take these small little brushes and to paint really small. If you find yourself doing this, step back, walk away from the painting, and then come back, because that is defeating the purpose of what we're trying to learn here, which is to paint brave and bold and loose and free. And so for your first workshop learning how to do this, it's very important that you really try to use the larger brushes, keep an open mind, and to walk away when you feel yourself getting tight. One of the things that I love to do and I love to teach my students is sgraffito. So what I do is I take the end of my brush, okay? And then I just scratch in. Why do I do that? Well, the easiest answer is I could say because I just want to. But really what it is I love adding cool texture to my pieces. I love just scratching things in, and then when I paint over it, you'll see this kind of cool design underneath everything. So I want you to take your brush and I want you to do the sgraffito into this red violet that we just started. So by doing that, you're just going to take the end of your brush and scratch in. Now, nothing little, nothing little, big, big scratches. Have fun with it. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and finish kind of going over the red violet here at the top. I'm gonna rinse my brush out. Yeah, I got my wash brush and I have my yellow. So you can see how I have the yellow brush the yellow paint globbed onto the back of this. I create pieces with thick layers of paint. This is not watercolor. So if you're a watercolorist and this is something you've always been used to, wipe that out of your mind. Yes, we use water with acrylic paints, but we do not apply the acrylic paint like watercolor. Okay? So glab it on and don't be scared. It's always best to start off with a student grade paint if you're new to this so that you can not feel like you're wasting paint. And I am just covering up the background. I've got some white mixed in with my brush now. I didn't rinse my brush. You saw what I was doing. I just had yellow paint on it, put it on, and then I went ahead and added white paint to the brush and applied it right on top. Now, I'm coming in here, and yes, I'm getting a little bit of paint on my birds, and that's okay, and it's smearing. So I'm just gonna take my finger and go with it. And it's just gonna give it a nice painterly look, because I'll come back later and go over it. Do not get upset about getting a little bit of paint on another color. We are not in a coloring book. We are not painting inside the lines. This is free and loose. Coming all in through the back here. I'm using yellow orange azo and my cadmium yellow to mix in along with a little bit of white. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take my finger and kind of blend those colors where my bird is, just like that. We'll work on several different pieces throughout this workshop, or maybe just probably 2 different pieces, so that you get a break to work on it. Make sure you're pausing when you need to so that you're able to come back and breathe a little. Now down here at the bottom, I think I'm gonna go with a yellow-green. And the reason I'm going with the yellow-green is because if you look on your color wheel, you'll see that the complementary color of red-violet is yellow-green. So I tell myself, red-violet is a beautiful color. What color would really make it stand out even more? Complement colors. So you look on your color wheel, you find the complementary color. I'm gonna put a yellow-green right here. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, but I'm gonna put it there. By getting a yellow-green, I take a little bit of my teal, and I take some of my lemon yellow, but you can use a different yellow if you'd like, if you don't have a lemon yellow. A yellow orange azo, will work just as well. And I might come in here too and add it up at the top. And let's see, I think also what would be a great color just to kind of throw in there would be this red-orange. Red-orange would be either your cadmium red mixed with a little bit of yellow, or you might already have a red-orange paint. Okay, so now we have our base coats. That is pretty much gets you started and gets you in the beginning. So we're gonna go ahead and take a little bit of a break, let that dry, come back to it, and we'll finish up. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and by this time your painting should be a little bit dry. And we're going to go ahead and begin to add in the next layers. So when I add the next layers in, I'm still keeping in mind of the colors that I've already put down for the first layer. So I'll probably just go back where I started, which was with the birds, and start with the blue-violet. Going to go ahead and add it in here on the bottom, coming in on the top.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself,
Now, one thing that I love about painting is that unlike when you're using sketches, which is like with black and white or black lead, the way you sketch with a pencil is you lighten up on the pressure of the lead or lighten up on the softness or hardness of the lead to get a lighter color. With paint, you can use an actual different color to add the light or the shadow. So we're going to go ahead and do that with the bird. So since we have blue violet, we'll start with white first to keep it simple. So I'm just going to add a little bit of white on my brush, and I'm just going to come in on the top and add some light here to the bird. On the top of his head. And then I may take my finger and just go ahead and blend. To get a lighter tone or lighter color, I would come back with some white and add some more. I am still using my big round brush. And if you notice, I do not have harsh lines. Harsh lines are something when you imagine taking a marker and you draw a straight line. It's very clear that there's a line and then there's paper, okay? With painting, that's like this anyway, a softer kind of abstract feel to it. We want to keep more of a painterly look to it by just keeping the lines soft. So that's not harsh contrast from the violet to the yellow. So I'll just take my finger and blend. If the paint's already a little dry, just wet your finger and just come back and blend. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more white here on the top of his head and on his back. Now, while that's drying a little bit, I'll come back down to the bottom and start adding in some more red violet. Now I have a darker violet here at the bottom, just to sort of ground the painting, and all I did by doing that was just add a little bit extra blue. Now come back in with some more red and a little bit of white and add it here at the bottom, or the top. I think I picked the noisiest day to film. We got people out cutting their grass and dogs barking all crazy. We're gonna add some more red violet to our palette here, or magenta. And now what I'm gonna do is add extra white to the top. I didn't rinse my brush, I just went ahead and added white to the brush already. Now, it's hard to see, but you can see I have still some sgraffito lines underneath. So that shows through, but I'm also gonna do it on this top layer. Add a little bit of extra violet at the top. A little bit more white. Okay, now I'm going to come back with my round brush. I'm going to take some of that, just the blue, and I'm just going to add some shadows in here. Where the birds are, just like that. Now I'll take some more of my blue and I'm going to come in here and add some lines. And still scratch more in because I covered up my other ones. I'm going to blend with my finger. I'm just thinking to myself that this could very much easily be part of a picnic bench or maybe a table outside the picnic or in a park or something. So with that thought in mind, because that's the first thing that comes to my mind, is maybe I'm going to add some flowers, and maybe I might add this green and make it more grass, of a grassy feel to it. So see, things come to mind as you start playing around and working, and open your mind to it. So I'm taking my yellow green that we started off with here on the base coat, which was the teal and the lemon yellow. Or you can add teal and yellow orange azo or cadmium yellow. Or you can even try a different blue with a yellow, depending on your taste of yellow green. I happen to like the really bright. So I'm going to go ahead and just put another coat of it in here. In fact, I'm going to add a different blue, a phthalo blue, just to give it a darker look here at the bottom. Mixing my colors. Come back in with a smaller round brush. You don't hear me use that word very often, smaller brush, but we're gonna go ahead and do it with this one because I want to give it more of a grass look to it. So we're adding in some yellow and some teal again. And I'm just going to lightly do some loose strokes like this. And I'll come back through. This will be one that we will add lots of layer to. Could be a picnic blanket, could be, you know, a park bench, maybe a lawn chair the birds are sitting on. I'm going to take my sgraffito and scratch in here because we are going to add more layers. This will just give it more texture. Alright, so we'll come back in and add that later here in a bit. Now, I was looking a little bit more at the piece and I thought, I have this beautiful color here that just kind of contrasts everything that we're working on. Then I have this yellow green up here. I want to keep the painting balanced, so I'm wondering if I should go with the yellow green at the top, but maybe I could do it a little bit differently and add a tree with yellow green. So by doing that, what I will do is I'm going to take my round brush and take that burnt sienna or a brown color of your choice, burnt umber, burnt sienna, raw sienna. I love burnt sienna. I like to add it with a little bit of black, but you're more than welcome to use any of those brown colors. I'm going to go ahead and add my tree here. It's a very abstract tree. It's almost just going to kind of be in the background. In fact, I made it too fat. Now I'll take my yellow green and my lemon yellow and my teal and begin to go ahead and add my tree colors. Now, because I wanted this tree to kind of be in the background, what I'm going to do is use my end of my brush to carve out where I want it to go. I'm going to carve in some little leaves, which is basically just little squiggly lines. Just like that. We'll come back in there and add that. And now, I made the tree trunk too thick, so instead of covering up and worrying about, oh my gosh, I made it too thick, what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna take a wet brush and I'm just going to carve out where I made the tree too thick with my wet brush, basically erasing, and then come back in with my yellow and maybe my white. And there we go. So that was pretty easy. See, don't get stressed if you feel like, oh, I messed up. There's really no messing up in painting. It's just everything's pretty much fixable. I mean, you have those pieces that you work on, and when you're done, you're like, oh, what? You know, I've done that. And those pieces I save for gesso, and I just gesso over it and begin a new canvas. All right, so the tree is gonna dry. We're gonna go ahead and work on these little flowers here. Now remember we drew this big flower up here, but I'm thinking some little flowers would be really pretty. So I'm gonna go ahead and come in with some, let's see, red violet. And I'm just making some little lines here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and come in with this red orange that I have up here. I may end up taking that out just because I have no use for it now, but that's okay. So just to make these flowers, I just add little dots. It's not detailed because the flowers are supposed to be small and further away. And this isn't a detailed piece, and it'd be silly to detail one thing and then not detail everything else. Okay, so let my flowers dry here. Come back in and add some yellow white. So I'm just kind of coming in for the background here. And I really want to add a lot of white near the birds because they are the show of this piece, the stars of this piece. We're gonna go ahead and try to cover up now this red. Oh, see, I like that. See what happens? Isn't that great? You just kind of figure something out, and it's, when you're scared to do something, you're scared to take something out, that's when you should try to do it, because you're never gonna know if you don't do it. After all, it's just painting, and you can just paint right back into it. Okay. All right, so now let's come back to our flowers over here, and let's add some of that grass. Get some lemon yellow, and we're going to kind of make the grass a little tall to reach those flowers, and maybe have some flowers come over on the edge. That's my paint. All right, so we have this lemon yellow and this teal green, and I'm just going to lightly come up here. This grass is going to be very light. I seriously picked the worst day to film. And the weird thing is my neighbors aren't very close. I just happen to live where you can hear everything in the back because it's a valley right down into the lake. Good thing I didn't film outside today. That wouldn't have been good. Here, I'm gonna come in with some blue. And add a little bit of yellow and a little bit more blue. Just creating a little bit of grass here. Gonna make some come over on the red violet as well.
Squint your eyes and look closer. I'm not between you and your ambition. I am a poster girl with no poster. I am 32 flavors.
Okay,
And I'm beyond your
very simple piece.
so you might want to turn your head.
Something that you could take your time with and not get overwhelmed with, because we used very simple shapes. This is not a complex piece at all. And it's something that you can continue to add to if you like.
Both my parents told me
I'm just adding in a little bit more green, and I'm gonna add some more foliage to my tree.
is more than I can explain. Still there's many who turned out their porch lights just so I would think they were not home. And hid in the dark of the windows till I passed and left them alone.
Some more lemon yellow. Okay, and then I'm just gonna add in my little leaf design. All right. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we forgot beaks on the birds. Actually, I didn't forget, I was just saving that for last, well, close to last. So we're gonna go ahead and take this black and we're just going to add the beaks. It's just a little triangle at the top of their head. And you know what? Actually, I'm gonna make this guy looking somewhere else. So I'm just gonna take my wet brush and wipe that black right out of there. And I'll just come back in with some yellow and cover that up. Okay. I kind of want to make his head a different shape. So, and you can leave yours. If you've already done it, you can leave it, or you can follow along with me. But I just want to make his head a little bit. Here we go. Where's my white? Add some white here. Now I'll take my black and make the beak. There we go. Okay, so we've got the beaks, we've got the birds, we've got the trees, we've got the flowers, we've got the big picnic table, park bench, picnic blanket. It's whatever we want. Maybe it's just a pink box. I think it's cool. I like it. I like the colors. So I'm leaving it. You can say whatever you want it to, whatever you want it to be is okay. All right. I'm gonna let that sit for a little bit. We're just gonna come in and add some flowers. All right. So red violet, some cool red orange here. Such a pretty color. Maybe we'll add some in elsewhere on the piece. I'm gonna come in with a little bit of white as well. Put them in groups. Okay, and now since I already have white on my brush, I'm gonna go ahead and add some more light to my birds. So taking a white, a little bit of the magenta on top, and just adding it in. Do the same with the other side. And then come back in with my larger brush with the blue violet Just adding more layers onto my birds. Trying to blend the light colors with the dark. Take my fingers, gonna go ahead and blend. All right, now for the stars. I always add the stars with the birds. It's just one of my things. So because we have this great, awesome, big blank space up here, we're gonna go ahead and add our star over there and a smaller one right here. And maybe another one at the top. So what I like to do so that my stars aren't detailed is I take my end of my brush and I just use that thick, since I have such a thick layer of paint, and I just make that star stand out just a little bit more. Okay, now we're gonna add just a tad bit of black. On the trunk, and a little bit of white on the top of the beak. Okay. And now, because I said earlier I was going to try to add that red orange to a different area in the piece, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to lightly add it into this bench here, just for added color. Take my finger and blend. So we have pretty much the canvas full and covered. And now the last thing I'm gonna do, which is my favorite, is to add the cool kind of pop color that I like to add on the main subjects of anything that I'm putting in my painting. In this case, it's the birds. So I'm gonna take my teal, I'm adding it onto the top of the bird. And I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit on the top of the beak. Okay, and let's see. So then this is when I start to kind of say to myself, okay, what else can I do? What else can I do? Usually that means I'm pretty close to done. I'm like literally 1 minute from being done, because my brain starts to think I have to do more, I have to do more. And I like to say, finish before you think you're done, because that way you are able to walk away and always come back if you see something later. But when we spent so much time working on a piece, it's hard to break away and be able to see it from the perspective, a fresh perspective. So in this case, I'm gonna just kind of let it sit. I might just come back. I decided earlier, and I did forget to do this, to add the white over the top of the head. All right, so I think that should be about it. Maybe we can come back another time and see if there's more we can do, but I feel like this is enough to get you started for the first beginning part of the workshop and allow you to have a moment to understand a little bit of what it's like to paint with a loose and free sort of open-mindedness in how we approach things. So With that being said, we will go ahead and stop this session, and we will begin a new one tomorrow. So we will see you then, or actually in about a week. We will see you then, and thank you so much for joining me. Hope you all are having fun, and feel free to let me know if you have any questions. Thanks guys, bye.